The Los Angeles mayor's race has been defined by candidates' sweeping promises to get homeless people off the streets, with the most ambitious talk coming from the top two finishers in the June primary. Representative Karen Bass, who leads developer Rick Caruso in polls, said she would place 15,000 people in tiny homes, motels, hotels, apartments and other forms of shelter or permanent housing. Caruso went even bigger, saying he would create 30,000 new shelter beds in his first year in office. But throughout the spring, in advance of the primary, neither candidate offered many specifics on the type of housing they would create, where it would be placed or how much it would cost. Now, with the general election a little more than 2 months away, Bass and Caruso have provided the clearest glimpse yet into their respective plans, which take radically divergent approaches to addressing the homelessness crisis. Caruso is firmly focused on construction of new interim housing, laying out an enormously expensive plan to build enough temporary housing units, in the form of tiny houses placed on 300 underutilized government parcels, to temporarily shelter 15,000 people. Another 15,000 people would find temporary shelter in sleeping pods placed in existing structures, such as warehouses and empty buildings. Caruso estimated it would cost up to $843 million in the first year to build or acquire the housing and prepare it for occupancy. He declined to estimate the operating expenses for housing 30,000 people, but a Times analysis of city documents found that it would cost about $660 million a year, or about $22,000 per person. I would judge me on an every 30-day basis, and I can lay out a timesheet for you, if you want me to, Becca. I've built my whole career against a schedule and a budget. Every project has a schedule and a budget. Bass wants to wring as much as possible out of the current system in order to expand both interim and permanent housing, though at a far smaller scale than Caruso envisions. She would build new shelter beds to accommodate about 1,000 people. Bass plan also relies on expanded use of housing vouchers, the leasing and purchase of motels and hotels, and other approaches. Bass has upped her early target, and now plans to bring a little more than 17,000 people indoors, by cobbling incremental improvements in several existing programs, including 500 veterans housing vouchers, she added after an interview for this article. Her plan estimates a first-year cost of $292 million, including construction costs and operating expenses for shelter beds. You have to have different housing, depending on what we are talking about, Bass said. If you're chronically mentally ill, you need different housing. But you know what, at the end of it, we also have to look at jobs and moving people from permanent supportive housing into the mainstream.